Oh, hello, friends. It's your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, Raph Esparza. We are coming to you live. It is 1:16 on Best Coast time. It is a pleasure to see you guys. We are continuing in our series of Save JiuJitsu Gyms feature interviews, and we have a good one for you today. A gent who I know near and dear to the friend of the show, friend of humanity, one might even say. But I'll tell you a little bit about what we're going to do before we get to our interview with him. I would say this, my friends, if you were ever looking to do something nice, and believe me, this is the time when you want to do something nice, I would tell you this. What I'm doing as part of my little initiative with this pandemic is doing the following. I'm taking out a Post-it note every day, and I'm finding 3 local gyms, businesses, or people to go ahead and find ways to support. So, what's support, Raph? Pretty easy. If you have the financial means to buy a DVD, buy a private, support the gym, maybe buy like a gift card of some sort, do that. If it means that you don't have any kind of cash on you, totally cool. Go ahead and offer to do any kind of thing, such as organizing, checking in on your teammates, all of those sorts of things that your gyms might need at this time, because honestly, a lot of people are trying to figure out how to do digital things that they didn't expect they would have to do. And third, if you can't do any of those things, very simply reach out to one of your grappling friends, training partners, check in on them, make sure they're doing okay, because I think the thing that we are learning continuously more and more by the day is, as much as we want to spend that time going ahead and checking on each other, sometimes it falls through the crack. And I know that it is way easier for us to check in on each other and make sure that we're all good, because that's the way we get through this. It's not by yelling at each other on Facebook, though it can be fun. Anyway, off of my pedestal. Here's what we're going to talk about today. This man I've known for a good while. He produces some of the best instructionals, some of the funniest memes and skits. He's got his own brand apparel. I mean, one of the things that you could say about this man is I came to know him as a guy who was helping us fight zombies ages ago. And, he's over the years become more of a near and dear friend. And I haven't had the chance to interview him, but I would like to interview him because he's up in the Canada. And there's a lot I don't know about the Canada. So I'd like to learn about it. I'd like to learn about his gym. And obviously during this kind of COVID situation, I want to know what he's going through. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the one, the only, the Ken Peeners to our show. Ken, how are you doing, sir?
Hello, everybody.
Ken, it's a pleasure to actually have you on a show. We've been friends for a while, but I've never gotten the opportunity or the honor of doing an interview with you. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. It's nice to talk to you.
Absolutely, dude. This is unusual for me because I'm used to seeing you with all those gis in the background demonstrating some move, either in some tie-dye. I mean, literally, you're a man of doing 20 things on a given day. So it is odd. How have you been holding up during the pandemic, dude?
It's weird. I've been busy and bored at the same time. Like, my wife has horses, so I've been stuck looking after those big bastards. Oh, are we cursing? Is this a curse point?
You can curse however much you want. I don't care.
I'll try to keep it down. Yeah, so I'm shoveling shit pretty much every day, so it's tons of fun.
Yeah, I know. I like that we'll routinely check in with you and be like, yeah, how's it going, dude? And you're like, I'm on a tractor. And I was like, we lead very different lives, Kent.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, I grew up with one cat, so like this isn't normal for me either. So
how does one get all of this? How does one go from owning one cat to essentially having a giant amount of farm industry to look after, sir?
I'm not good at saying no. That's really what it comes down to. Like, hey, I've been looking at this dog. All right, cool, get it.
So give me an idea. Like, how many animals are we talking here?
Right now there's like 4 dogs, like 8 cats, 4 rabbits, a guinea pig, 39 horses, a mini horse.
Wait, I want to double check that. You said 39 horses?
Yep.
How does one have 39 horses, my friend? That's Whew, okay.
Well, that's why every time you talk to me, I'm in that fucking tractor.
I get it, dude, but Jesus, 39. You know, if Noah's going to recreate an arc, I think he's going to make a stop by your place just to
Oh.
load up on some supplies, I think. Well, Ken, obviously that's pretty great. You know, we're gonna start with the basics in just a second, but man, I gotta say, 39, yeah, goddamn, dude, I'm thinking about that. Also, let me tell you this: don't be afraid to curse on this. I don't care. I know that a lot of people, you know, sometimes we have people who teach kids, we have all those sorts of things. If you come on my show, no one ever has to apologize for language. I just always say, like, you know, you're adults at this point. If people don't like that sort of a thing, they can
Dude,
go.
I got a lecture from somebody. I think it was like 3 months ago. Because, you know, at the end of my videos, I always say, buy my shit.
Hmm?
Like that started as a joke. You know, like if you watch my YouTube videos at the end of them, I say, hey, buy my shit. And somebody commented, they were like, I was watching the video with my son and we were both really offended that you cursed at the end of the video. And I was like, fuck, bro, you wouldn't like me at all in person.
I always tell people this. I don't know, man. I get it if kids are watching, and I try to work clean. And you know, as a comic, you learn different ways of varying, you know, your blue material and your clean material and all that sort of stuff. But I always tell people, I'm like, listen, I create a show that I don't force you to watch. So if you don't want to watch it, you don't have to. I'd love it if you would. But it's even like my dad. My dad came to see one of my comedy shows once, and he came home and he started pulling off like the Eddie Murphy, Bill Cosby bit where he's just like, you just keep saying the F-bomb and F-bomb this and F-bomb that. And I was like, Dad, I said it twice. And I got to tell you, both times it was warranted. One was there was a fucking idiot in our audience, and there was no better way to describe it than he was being a fucking idiot. And
That's
guess
awesome.
It got a laugh. So my dad will, like, you know, routinely watch in, and if I do curse on one of these things, he'll send me like a note and be like, son, I didn't teach you how to say that. And I was like, yes, you did. Don't.
My mom watched the last podcast I was on, and she was like, I thought it was really good, but you were just cursing so much that nobody's going to take you serious.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mom. Thanks.
Yeah, that's a real concern in our sport. See,
I think self-censoring is a big thing. Like, if you can watch something and something offends you, fuck you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what? You live in a giant world. There's going to be people that piss you off every day. Like, if you need to go around policing other people, your life's going to fucking suck.
I think of it like this. So there are certain times when I always think, I think somebody said this a long time ago, and this is very true for comics, where you go, is the joke funnier by adding that curse word? And that's fine because you're performing and you're doing something there. So if it adds, and that's cool, if that's your way of talking, then that's the way you're supposed to be. So whenever I'm on this, I'm not trying to be somebody else. This is me. So if you see me talk like this, you sure as hell better expect me to talk like that when I see you. So I just try to make it as, you know, I'm not putting on airs. It's just, this is who I am. And in real life, if somebody says something dumb, I'm the first guy across the gym to be like, shut the fuck up, you know? Yeah. And then suddenly remember, like, oh, is your kid here? I feel a little bad about that, but not that bad.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into it, dude. I want to ask this. Where does the jiu-jitsu journey begin for you? Like, how far back are we going now? Because, I mean, now you're a black belt, you've been around forever, you've got a huge following, people love to see your technique videos. Where's the journey begin for you, sir?
It's funny because it actually it was one of the UFC VHSs. I think it was 2 or 3. That was the first one that I rented. And like, I'm talking old school, right? Like I had to go to the movie place and rent the VHS, take it home. Like, a whole different world than what people are used to now, right? Mm. And I just remember seeing the wrestling and I was like, this is pretty fucking cool. But I went to Kohl's bookstore and I ordered the Gracie fucking technique book, Theory and Technique. I still have it. And I just started asking my friends, hey, come on over to my garage. It was my dad's house. And we took a bunch of fridge boxes. We laid them out on the fucking floor. We duct taped them together. And we would just practice techniques that we seen out of the book, right? And that was just years of randomly wrestling with my friends and just having fun. I never had any steady training partners. There was no clubs in my area because I'm just a small town, right? So eventually I found a club that, it was 5 hours away. We traveled up a few times. And then it wasn't until I was away for work. I was in, do you know where Calgary is, Alberta?
Absolutely,
I
sir.
was in the Calgary area, and I was up in Fort McMurray working, and I got my blue belt training with Gracie Barra up there. So then I had like once you got your blue belt, you can tell people like, hey, I'm gonna open my own club, and it sounds bad to most people because they only want to learn from black belts. But where I'm from, we had no jujitsu at all,
Hmm.
and I couldn't exactly open. Well, I probably could have opened a club as a white belt, but it wouldn't have had any. You get that. Oh, you're a blue belt. Oh shit, my niece, she's a black belt in Taekwondo. Maybe she can teach you some stuff. And it's like, no, man, I'll beat your niece's ass. Like, I would totally drop her. Oh, hold on, my wife's dropping off some food.
Oh,
Thank you.
hold on. This is the
What,
time when I get mad that we have this remotely. Like, I want food dropped off to me.
dude?
My wife took off to go run an errand, and she was like, "Peace."
See you later, bro. So
Okay.
yeah, it started like that. I had the club going as a blue belt, and I was just really honest with everybody when they came through the door. Like, I'm only a blue belt. If I don't know shit, I'll figure it out. I'll find it. And this was back when I had to watch YouTube and like Grappling magazine. I was like clipping techniques out of Grappling magazine and then going and repping them. But it was just all about honesty, right? Like start the club up and see how it goes. And it worked because I got right into the business aspect of things. Like somebody told me early on that if I treat it like a hobby, it'll repay me like a hobby. If I treat it like a business, it'll repay me like a business. So I got really into like business books, accounting books, just everything I could to try to make myself better at business in general. And I mean, it's still going. So, well, it's kind of still going before the world ended.
We'll get to that in a second. I want to ask, when did you know that you fell in love with jiu-jitsu? Because this is a true, like, self-engineer kind of story. This is you putting it together, piecing it together over the years. So there has to be a love of the craftsmanship of it. But when did you know that you personally were in love with the sport?
I'll tell you right now. I know the exact moment. Like some people remember exactly when the fire got lit. I have names and everything, bro. I was doing traditional Japanese jujitsu because I had no idea there was a difference. I really knew nothing. This was before judo. I just seen jujitsu, so I went and I joined this club. And this little old man is like showing me techniques and shit, and I learned so many wrist locks. Like I think that's why I'm a filthy wrist locker to this day. And I remember I was doing a few months of jujitsu, and I was like, I'm a motherfucking tank. Like I'm probably the toughest person in my area because I've been doing this jujitsu shit. So a few of my friends, they're bigger than me. They're all like 6'2", fucking 280 pound, like muscle, like jocks. And they were like, man, come on over. We're gonna roll. I was like, all right, cool. I've been doing jujitsu. I'll fuck you dudes up. And I was wrestling with Chris Carroll. He's still training. He's a great dude, and he fucking can openered me, and I couldn't do anything about it. He damn near broke my spine, and I remember tapping, and I remember sitting there just fucking astounded that my skills were just useless. Like I couldn't lock any wrists, none of them. There was no wrist lock that day, and it fucking broke my heart. And I started doing judo instead, and then I started really jumping into the Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I stopped doing the traditional jiu-jitsu, and that was my goal right there. After that, I want to never get can openered ever again. And ever since then, I've been straight up addicted to jiu-jitsu.
What is the thing that you think you wish you knew when you were piecing this all together? Because the children now have all these resources.
Yeah.
And it's a different world. But personally, though, I do wonder this for you. If you could give advice either to yourself or those kids who maybe don't have the means or the areas or the things,
Yep.
what is the best advice that you give them in terms of trying to piece it together when they don't have maybe an instructor at they're ready, but they want to learn?
Bro, there's so much. I've actually thought about writing all that out, and I don't know if I'd sell it or just give it away because I don't know how much. Well, it probably would be pretty valuable, but some of the main things are like, if you're training on your own, you definitely have a heightened sense of how good you are. This was one of the real killers for me, because when we started training in the gym, well, in the garage, we had a group of, like, by the end of it, like before I got my blue belt, when I was just close to the end. Just 1 second. Oh, that's crazy. Sorry. I'll be right back.
Good, dude.
All right, yeah. So one of the biggest things at the beginning was I thought I was really good. Like I thought I was really, really good. And I wasn't. Like, we had one visitor come from a club 5 hours away, and he trained with me in the garage, and he just fucking smoked me multiple times on the mat. And I was telling myself, like, I'm killing these guys that I'm training with. I'm probably a blue belt. You know what I mean? Like, because you have no yardstick for it. So I had this very heightened sense of where I was in the jujitsu scheme of things. And Richard Kanasevich was the guy's name, and he's a black belt. He's a beast. He's trained down at Atos now, and he just fucking smoked me, man. Like, we rolled for an hour, and he killed me every which way. I only came close to tapping him once years later, and I still never have. And it was one of those things, like, really don't do much when it comes to self-assessing. See if you can go to other places, go with, like, really don't put yourself at a particular level. Like, I just had it in my head how good I was, and that opened my eyes. And that was the day where things really changed for me, where I was open to learning from everyone, because, dude, I was convinced I was a blue belt, and I got fucking smoked.
See,
Yeah,
I
it was
have the
bad.
exact opposite version of that, which is I, from the beginning, have been like, I'm terrible at this. And, obviously, as you do it and you become a little bit better, you become a little more aware, and maybe someone will tell you differently. But, like, I think the beauty of it from my perspective is it's always been the work angle of, like, yeah, I don't know this. So when someone's like, hey, man, you're not bad, I'm like, oh, okay, well, cool. And then it's like a nice little benchmark. But, like, even then, I'm still like, I think they're just saying that because they want to make me think I'm good, and then they know
They want to get on a podcast.
But well, no, honestly, there's no barometer on that. I feel like I've always been pretty friendly enough to let people on. The main joke that we tell people, and I repeat this day in, day out, because it never fails. But if I show up to a gym, somebody recognizes me, and they don't maybe know my name, they just kind of go like, oh, you look familiar, kind of a person. And I'm like, oh, yeah, my name's Raph. I have a podcast. And they'll be like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I know who you are. And that's usually one version. The second version is, I know who you are. And I go, oh, okay. They're going to try and murk me in this role. But suddenly, we always say that anybody who subscribes to the podcast mysteriously finds an armbar on me much easier than most other people. So I'm like, yeah, are you subscribed on iTunes or YouTube? Because, oh, you're so good. Oh, man. Oh, I suck, But yeah, I've found that over the years I've adapted as more of a, like, okay, there are some things I obviously know. And if I know something and I have an insight to something, to my buddies who compete a lot or who fight, I'm happy to provide those links. But I'm also the first person where, I don't know if you saw the clip of Eddie Bravo over the weekend giving advice to Tony Ferguson.
No, I didn't.
Oh, man. Okay. Third round, tough fight. Obviously, you want the best advice you're going to get. But Eddie definitely, in between rounds, said, hey, you know what, man? I think you might need to go out there and do an Imanari, And I was like, oh, no. Like, oh, man, Eddie's great, dude. I love Eddie. But,
dude, that's the kind of advice I'd give. I mean, well, I don't know.
Well, to be fair, I texted one of my friends who fights, and I said, hey, bud, this would 1,000% be me. So it's a good thing you never bring me into your corner.
Yeah.
But, hey.
I've gotten in some trouble when I was cornering. I'm the loudest person in there. Like, everyone can hear me. Absolutely everyone can hear me. So I'm screaming from the sidelines. I've been in trouble for getting up on the stairs, yelling to my fighters. I climbed the cage one fight. So I did it twice, but the first time I climbed the cage from the outside after my fighter won. and there's a wicked picture. He jumped into me. So there's a picture of me and him hugging, like floating at the top of the cage. And one of the times I climbed and I front flipped into the cage. Well, did I lose you? See, even Raph doesn't like my talking. I'll just wait here. Am I running the show now?
No.
Hey guys, this is Kent with Grappling Central.
1 sec. Oh, I see what happened. Okay. Continue talking. I've got the shitty camera.
Did you hear any of it?
I did. You were climbing the cage. As you fell into the cage, there's a great picture that was made of you.
Well, okay, so the first one, I wanted to front flip into the cage, but all I did was climb up, and me and him were like hugging at the top of the cage, and there's a great picture of that. The second time he won, I think, a championship match, I climbed up and I front flipped in the cage before they had the doors open, and he had just put the other person out with a triangle choke. So I ended up getting in trouble and almost fined because I got into the cage before the medical responders could.
Well, I think the important thing is you learned a good lesson there. But if I'm getting a connecting thread, and I'm no psychologist, I would say this: it seems like from the very get-go, there's always been passion for what you do.
Yeah,
and
I love it. I lost you again. I can't hear you at all. Should I narrate while those lips are moving? Or maybe you guys can't hear me. Hello, everyone. I'm Rafa Sparza. I'm really good at what I do. Well, look at me, guys. I'm just going to wait. I can't hear you at all, bro. I'm trying to read your lips, but it's not a skill of mine. I'll click on the chat button.
All right.
I hear you now. Yeah, I hear you now.
It's a shittier version of me, right?
No, dude, I thought that was fantastic.
Oh my God, I'm so pissed. Anyway, let me ask this. Okay, so what have you been experiencing in the past few months? When did you end up having to shut down operations?
So I didn't know how bad it was going to get. I didn't know if it was going to be like a parent killer or a grandparent killer. So I shut down March 12th because I started isolating. I didn't want my kids to be at risk. I didn't want my parents to be at risk. So March 12th, I shut down. And then around here in my local area, we've only had 47 deaths. 44 of them were all in the same nursing home. So it hasn't been as bad as some places. Okay. So, and pretty much all of them have been like 75 plus, right? We haven't had really anyone below that. Now, I'm not good with stats and stuff. That might have changed as of today, but it's pretty much only taken the older people. And the economy around here is getting pretty fucked up. There's already been a few of my favorite restaurants that have closed and said they're probably not going to reopen. Dude, I don't know how much more I'd be able to make. See, with me, I'm not big enough to qualify for one of the big loans that the Canadian government put out. And I'm too big to qualify for the smaller loan that they put out. And the one that's middle of the road, dude, it took me 8 hours. I had to send them off like 25 pictures of all my different bank account statements and stuff. And this was to qualify for like $1,000. And then they emailed me back saying like a few of the pictures were wrong. So they do this. They have this thing where they're giving $2,000 out to anybody who applies if you've lost your job because of it. But where I refuse to shut down Supernatural Survival Gear because, dude, like it's a growing company. At some point, Supernatural Survival Gear is going to be my main source of income. Like that's going to be my main everything, right? Like more than Zombie Proof is. And I refuse to shut it down. So because I'm making a few dollars off SSG, and dude, like I'm down about 85% on the last 2 months. So the Canadian government's pretty much given me nothing so far. I think I'm going to qualify for a rent, like 75% rebate on my rent. But I haven't even seen the hoops that they're trying to make me jump through with that yet. So basically, from 100% of my income, I'm down to living on about 15% of it. And I mean, like that's it's pretty fucked up, you know. And not to get morbid, but like, if my grandmother was still alive, she would much rather her go than my whole business get fucking destroyed. I know that's morbid as fuck. See, like, I don't even know how I feel about the whole situation because I don't want people to die. I'm not a grandmother killer, but like, dude, like, I might not be able to come back from this. You know, like, I might lose my whole business, my whole gym, like everything I've ever worked for, everything I've ever wanted to do. And that's like, dude, that's fucking tough. It's hard.
Yeah, I would say this. I would say that most people who are struggling, like what you're doing right now, is you're voicing it out as you're going. You know,
Yeah.
like you're just being honest about it, and I appreciate your honesty. I think we're in a tough spot. I think jiu-jitsu is going to continue to be in a tough spot.
Like, I don't want anybody to think I want to kill my grandmother. I
No,
just,
no.
you know, I'm at, it's just, it's all, see, you can't say anything. I don't want to sound like an evil person. I'm ready to go back to work. Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, let's put it this way. Everybody wants to go back to work.
I know.
I think everybody is also wanting to do the right thing.
Yep.
And I think that there's going to be a way to scale it. I hope. It's just, we have seen a lot of ineffective leadership, which has trickled down. And you're in a different area than we are.
Yeah.
And I think now we have the difference between large government and small government. You know, I saw today earlier that Los Angeles is extending their stay-at-home order. I don't love it because I would obviously love to do other things. Yeah. But I also understand the benefit of doing it for a high region area. And already as is, people are, you know, they'll comment on it. I've seen it shared like 60 times from just my page. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you know, they're sending messages to me and I'm like, I'm literally quoting the LA Times here. This is not me. Yeah. Also, I didn't make the order. So people want to express what they're expressing. I would say, though, for the businesses and the jiu-jitsu businesses in particular, I have an understanding of, yeah, I do the sport. I know what you're going through. I know how hard it's going to be going forward. What is the one thing, if people were to take away, like people listening to this right now, if you were to say to them, listen, this is what we need right now, what is that? Because I don't think the gym owners are being asked that by anybody. So it's something that I'm trying to at least give you the opportunity to say. Like, if we were to ask you, what is it that you need? What is it?
See, it's hard because I don't think any gym owner out there wants to be looked at like a beggar, you know? And at the end of the day, some of these gyms, like the rent is what an engineer gets paid per year, you know? And whether or not they're working out deals with their landlords, someone got to pay that money, you know? Like, where's the money coming from? I think a lot of the gym owners just, you know, they need money, right? Like, and there's no way to say this without sounding like they're looking for money for their fucking Lamborghini. But like, here, I'll give you an example with me. Like, it's not the case, right? Like, I drive a broken ass Jeep. I had to open my door yesterday to get food at a drive-thru, you know, because my window stopped working a few days ago and I can't get it in to get seen yet. Right. So I got cauliflower ear so bad in this year. I have to keep like forcing the thing in and it's not staying. So if you like something, and this is just super general, it's not just jujitsu, but like, if you like something, you should be trying to keep it going for you. Right. And I understand the whole service industry. I understand how everybody has different takeaways from this stuff. But one thing I always try to tell people, and not just at my business, at any business, like when I go to a restaurant that I like, if I can save money at that restaurant, so I know that my favorite restaurant will be there when I want to go back next time, I'm going to try to do it. Like, I'm the guy that stacks the plates on the, and I don't know, maybe servers don't like that shit, but I'm the guy who stacks the fucking plates when he's done with them, and I'll walk them up to the counter. Like, I'm that guy, because if I like a place, I want to do what I can to make it work. Like, at my club, we have a culture where you don't leave your water bottle on the fucking table. You pick it up and you put it somewhere. So at the end of the day, that's not stuff that I have to do. So I can focus on getting you more training partners, right? And it's like, if you're getting back from jujitsu, and I think everybody at this point, if you've done jujitsu, you know that it is your mental health facility. You are a better fucking person because you're simulating murder with your friend Joe the accountant. You know what I mean? Like if if you want that to be there for you at the end of all of this bullshit, you should ask your instructor, what do you need? Are you okay? Is the club okay? Are your bills being paid? And I'm not saying you should fucking donate a pile of money, but I mean, like, if you could keep paying your dues, where I'm not, I don't qualify for really much as of now. Hopefully the Canadian government fixes some shit up, but like, just to pay the rent, man. Some of my students, they've been volunteering dues because I canceled all my memberships. I didn't want to be charging people and them not having a say in it. So I put a post on and I was like, guys, I'm not a beggar. I honestly, I'm not wasting your money. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do fucking drugs. But if you want to put money towards keeping the club going, I would accept it. And I've been putting it all into a separate account and I've been keeping track of everybody who did it. And, you know, I'm going to make sure that they're looked after, right? Like it's a hard thing because I understand some of my students just straight up can't afford to pay. And I'm not going to be mad or spiteful about that because nobody could have predicted this. Like, hey, stay home. You know, like there's this fucking weird sickness going on. And like it's just crazy for so many reasons for me, right? Like I never expected to be the guy sitting here talking about how if this goes another few months, I'll probably have to close down. That's such a weird thing because all I've ever wanted to do was own this gym. All I've ever wanted to do was teach your kid how to not get beat up at lunchtime. You know what I mean? It's strange, right? So, like, if you want it to continue after this bullshit is over, message your instructor, see if you can help, right? Because it's not going to be there for you. Well, some of them won't. Some of them are already closing down. You're seeing it all over the place, and it's pretty wild. Yeah, so that's my heartfelt rant.
Appreciate it. And I would tell you this, dude. I would say what I would want people to understand is you are not being like, hey, listen, I want your money, I want this. Most of these guys are identifying themselves as being like, I don't want to be this person. But
Dude.
I also understand that if we don't get around that, then it might be too late. So yeah, I appreciate you again for sharing this, because one of the things that I've tried to tell people in the very beginnings of publicizing this is a hashtag or this is an interview series is I'm like, listen, dude, I don't want to read a post in 2 days when I know that 30 days ago I could have done this interview.
Yeah,
and
man.
to me, I'm just like, it just doesn't sit right. And I realize we're going to go through a lot of those conversations on a lot of those posts.
Yeah.
But I feel it's really vital that people know what they need to know. I would also say this. I feel like in low density areas, we should be able to explore.
Yep.
And one of the things that we've been talking about as we get to exploring, though, is, asking people like, so I'm sure you've been imagining reopening.
Yeah, like the second the government says I'm allowed, because I'm legally shut down. Like that,
Right.
they're giving a $7,500 fine to any business that has any non-essential business that has more than 5 people in its premises. So if people want to work out, I would be able to bring in 5 people into my gym. We would be spaced 6 feet apart at the moment. And if the cops showed up and there was 7 people in there, if somebody,
Came in late or something,
like I would get a $7,500 fine, and each individual person, I think the number's like 880, but don't quote me on that, because
sure.
I honestly, I haven't looked into it, because I straight up don't give a fuck. If anybody gives me a fine over this, I'm not paying it. I'm saying that right now. Government go fuck themselves. I won't be paying any bullshit fines for anything, no matter what. It's just not happening. So if the government says that we're not going to do the fine anymore, you can have 10 people in, I'll have 10 people in, and I will have a locked door session, and we'll have skipping ropes on the floor. And if there's a knock at the door, everybody picks up a fucking skipping rope. I'll do temperature checks. I have a doctor friend. I'm going to talk to him and make sure that all of my plans are feasible. Like, I'm not going to put anybody at risk, but I'll damn well open up the second they say I can.
Because I think that's the next conversation is that I want to have with people is I also want to expand the understanding of, okay, listen, I might not be in your state, but I might be able to share intelligence that I'm getting from certain experts, or these people have certain experts or resources, because I feel like the midway point is going to be, all right, obviously we have to open back up in some capacity.
Yep.
How do we do it smart?
Well, and that's like, sorry to cut you off, but
Very good.
there's weird shit with this, man. Like, do you remember everything shutting down for SARS, or do you remember everything shutting down for H1N1? Because H1N1 killed between 270,000, 500,000 people, and that was 2009. I don't remember 2009, but I'll never fucking forget 2020. Right? SARS has a 9.6 or something mortality rate. This has like a 3 or less than 3. So that's 3 times less. And I don't remember shutting shit down for SARS. And this is the thing, man. I'm not a fucking scientist. I only know what the World Health Organization tells me. I'm not into the conspiracy theories, even though, like everybody's out there with their own thing going on. And it's hard not to read some of them. I'll go down the rabbit holes, but I don't really buy into anything yet. But like, this is just another virus we've had. No, see, I don't want to say that because I'm not trying to downplay anything, because I know it's killing people. But it's like, I think maybe it's harder for me to get the vibe of it because there's only been 47 people in my entire province. And we had that mass shooting a few weeks ago, and that took like 24 people right there. And that guy was one pissed off dude from quarantine, right? So it's, I don't want anybody thinking I'm trying to take away from this, but in my area, I would open up right away.
I understand that. And
it's just, I'm not a grandpa killer. I feel like I'm going to get called that. I don't know.
Let's do this. Let me go ahead and see if I understand. Which is, the moment you can open up, you want to open up.
Yes.
I think that what you are expressing in terms of a comparison angle is one that it hasn't been properly communicated in terms of, well, why is this different? Or what is the severe impact? And I would say that I think, from my understanding, it was that we're at a place where overwhelming the systems is tough. And in your area, it does not sound like you're being overwhelmed.
Yeah,
so it would make sense in the realm of doing that. And I think that you also would not make the argument that the dude who's going to shoot somebody, is going to do that. It's just like saying, that guy's not a responsible gun owner. Yeah. So I think that doesn't really make sense for you, who what I would assume is a responsible gun owner. So it's apples and oranges. But to me, I'm thinking, okay, listen.
No, I was just making a comparison on the numbers. Like, we lost half that in one mass shooting, but definitely not that,
But I understand what you were saying.
Yeah.
It is that in that one day, that guy ran up a numbers game.
Yeah, half of what we've lost this whole time
is about where it is impacting you. So one of my aims on this as well has been, like, if somebody was watching this and there's somebody who didn't do jiu-jitsu, let's say an official didn't
That's
do
another
jiu-jitsu.
thing I'm terrified about. People are going to be scared to join because of all this close contact shit, right? Like, now we're talking about social distancing, and we're trying to make social distancing this new fucking in thing. And, like, listen, I don't know how, I'm not a fucking scientist, bro, but I know that social distancing in the long term can't be that good for you, can it? Like, staying away from other people's fucking bacteria and not experiencing, like, getting the antibodies from other people. Like, isn't that the way we really stay alive? Like, the whole herd immunity thing, isn't that kind of what we do?
So,
right? And I think that jujitsu, man, I don't get sick. I get sick once every 6 years, maybe. I think I'm at like 7 now.
I would say this. I would say that we're also the sport that just magically has ringworm. So we
I've only had it once, bro.
Well, once would be bad enough as a record for something that we don't have a full comprehension of. So I think the idea is this. I tell people, be flexible on the science and understand we're going to learn more as it goes. but
Yep.
we're also going to have to confront a harsh reality on our sport, which is sometimes shit happens and we don't know how to explain why. And a lot of the times it gets covered under. I don't think this is something we cover under as well. I do believe part of the theory on herd immunity is that we need to have something that fights it. At least with the flu, we kind of have a shot. And some people, they can get it, some people don't. But with those two things combined, at the very least, we have a better plan of addressing it and it doesn't overwhelm our system.
Yeah.
So what I would say is to people who are coming in right now, and I'll pitch this, to people who are just looking at jiu-jitsu and are afraid of it, I would say this. I would say that the best indicator of should I be at this gym in the foreseeable future is going to be how respective gym owners respond with a plan. And I got to tell you, man, when I saw Gracie Barra's first plan, I looked at it and I was like, man, I don't know that I love this. But at the same point, I think a little plan goes a long way.
Educate me on it. I haven't seen it.
Absolutely. I might be bastardizing this, so you hopefully can
I'm good with that, bro. I make up most of the things I say, so.
I will tell you this. They had a 3-tiered plan, if I could remember correctly. And I think that the first phase was kind of like, you can come in, but there's going to be no contact kind of a thing. We're going to do it with grappling dummies. We're going to make sure we're going to do all the washing, et cetera, et cetera. Plan 2 is when they get to, okay, yeah, you can kind of train back in person. If you're at higher risk, we're going to ask you to stay at home. So if you're of a certain age or vulnerable, we're going to ask you to maybe come in at the end of stage 2, sort of a deal. Stage 3 is kind of back to normal operations. And to me, I was sitting there and we put up a poll just on our Instagram. And we had a lot of people who were against it because they're thinking, I'm just going to go back to rolling like 100% once I show back up.
Yep.
And I say to them, I'm like, listen, dudes, I would tell you statistically, you're probably okay. I think most of the guys who do jiu-jitsu will bat on an average as healthy because a lot of it is underlying disease. What they might not be successful at is being carriers and stopping it from that. So what I did appreciate, though, was I saw Gracie Barra put that up there. And so what I would say is if you're one of those guys who is interested in our sport, know that it's amazing. Know you will love it. But really look at these gyms that like walk you through it and say, like, I'm going to walk you through what you need to know. And you can make a decision from there. But at the same point, the fact that I will see instructors say to them and like go up to them and say, here's our plan, here's what we're doing. Then at that point, you've done your due diligence as a gym owner. So that's kind of how I've been walking through that. Well, let me ask this. If that does become the case, you've looked into the social distancing protocols and all that sort of stuff. If you do open back up, is that the plan? Is that kind of what you're foreseeing? Because I have to believe that's got to be the next step going forward.
Yeah, like the things that I've been looking into is like, well, for me, my gym is the cleanest gym I've ever been in ever. It just is. Ever since the beginning, I've been a nut because it's who I am as a person. I'm actually not good with the whole jujitsu thing. Like, I don't like people touching me. I don't want to shake your hand. Dude, I'm weird, bro. Like, you ever walk into a bathroom and there's 3 urinals?
Yeah.
You know how like most people go on the corners and shit because they're like, I don't know if they're afraid they got a little penis or something. I get in the middle because I know most people are afraid to get in the middle and I'll get less piss splashback from other people if there is any at all. I'm that guy, man. I'm a weirdo. I'm fucking weird as shit. So we use like industrial strength cleaner. I get it from, we're nuts. I pay a woman to come in. She cleans every single day. We clean the mats after class. Everything's cleaned. Everything's sprayed. Everything's spotless.
I just lost you on your voice. There you go. You just came back now.
What about now? Am I back?
Yeah. You're good.
Yeah, like we don't get sick at my gym. It just doesn't happen. The time I got ringworm, it was from training camp at a different place. Anytime any of my students get sick, it's after a tournament or after a seminar. I'm crazy. And then after class, I wipe my whole body down with Lysol wipes, which I know is fucking weird. And then when I get home, I don't let my kids touch me till I get in the shower. and I take all my gym clothes off. Like all my stuff is in a bag. All my stuff's washed. I wash everything every class. My belt is washed every class. So as far as cleaning protocol, dude, I'm already there. I don't have to change a fucking thing. I'm a nut, right? So I won't have to change anything with that. So what I'm looking at is temperature checks, having almost like questionnaires on the waiver, like have you traveled? Does anyone you know travel? Do you have anyone at risk? Like shit like that. Because and I've talked to my doctor friend yesterday, was talking about it, and there's been different stories on being a carrier.
Mhm.
Some of the stories I was hearing at the beginning was you can be a carrier without having symptoms, and then it looked like World Health Organization changed it to you do show symptoms. You are symptomatic before you can spread it. So if that's what's going on, if I had proper temperature checks and then making sure, like, are you sick? Have you had a cough in the last few days? You can regulate it to a point. So it's going to be an open conversation, which is something that I've also been doing at my gym forever. Hey guys, this is what ringworm looks like. If you see it on your body, tell me. You're not dirty. You're probably a clean person. Clean people get these things because you don't have enough of your own bacteria on you. Guys, this is impetigo. This is staph. Staph can turn into MRSA. Like we've sorry, this cauliflower thing's pissing me off. We've had so much open communication about the different things that you can get on the mat that I think that's why also we don't get it at my club, because my students are very you're not going to be shunned. I'm going to shun you if you have smelly gear, though. I'll call you out in front of the whole fucking class. That's part of the culture that I instilled at my club. I want you to feel comfortable saying, "Hey, bro, your rash guard smells a little bad. You should clean that shit. Put it in vinegar. I don't know. Get it off though." We don't have smelly training partners, and we don't embarrass each other. I don't even allow inside jokes at my gym, because if there's an inside joke, that means someone's on the outside. Like we don't do the whole bully thing, even though we have like a joking culture with each other, but it's not a malicious thing, you know? So I don't think I'm going to have to change much when it comes to the cleaning procedures, because I'm not kidding. Like I'm the cleanest gym I've ever been in. But I will have to look into the different procedures on how you can tell if someone's sick, what the symptoms were, how they know, how they would know, like shit like that. I'm going to have to do some research. But like I said, man, I'm probably going to open as soon as I can. But that also goes towards, like, I'm in a small area, man. Like there's not,
Yeah.
I think we had one new case in the last 2 weeks, and it was, another person in a nursing home, which, dude, I don't want to keep coming back to this. I'm not a fucking grandpa killer.
I don't think we are getting that sense from you.
I hope not, man. I hope
but
not. Someone's
I
going to comment it, though. I know they will.
maybe, dude. But I think that the thing I'm trying to ask for with people is just to try to have a little bit of understanding of where you're coming from, and to hear you out, because I think that there's a ton of concerns, and I think the hardest part is, obviously we joke and we laugh about ringworm and all these magic things that tend to happen, and when people come in and they train when they're sick and all these sorts of things. But it's also kind of a shitty situation for those gym owners who really do their best and do a good job of keeping things clean. It's just something that we have to deal with, and that I think is important that is addressed, because
yeah,
if you don't address it and you don't talk about it, then people don't know. And
well,
then
and
they
there's
get
a lot of fear mongering going on, where like people are making you feel like a bad person if you get close to somebody, right? And that's one of those things that's going to carry on in people's memories. So that's going to be a barrier that we're going to have to break down to get them comfortable. A first timer getting on the mat, rolling with
Yeah,
someone that they don't know, that's going to be a massive barrier for our sport.
absolutely. And I would love to ask you this, which is, I was trying to ask this earlier, but if somebody was watching this
Yep.
and they were wondering, and they weren't, say, jiu-jitsu practitioners,
Yep.
what is the best thing that you can tell them that kind of encapsulates, I guess, the struggle that you and other jiu-jitsu practitioners are facing? Because I think they understand people want to be in shape, And I do feel it is kind of silly when people are protesting with sit-ups and lunges in Florida. And I go, I don't know that that's it. But I do hear them when I say, fuck, yeah, I want to go back and train too. So I understand that. What is it that you would tell those people who maybe wouldn't understand something about our sport?
See, jujitsu is different in the sense where it's a constant battle against other people, but it's also a constant battle against yourself, right? Like if you're keeping track of your journey, you know what you're not good at, you know what you're good at. So it's similar to CrossFit where you have personal goals, right? Like I want to get better at arm bars, so I'm going to work on arm bars. I want to get better at heel hooks, I'm going to work on heel hooks. So you have that gauge versus yourself. But then you have this camaraderie in your gym where you have training partners that become your best friends. They become your family. Like my number one training partner, I stood in his wedding. Like, you know, that's crazy for me because I fucking hate weddings. Like, I don't go to weddings. Some of my best friends, I've said no to go to them. I don't want to go. So he had to invite me to be one of his groomsmen to even get me to go to the wedding. But like, we're there. Like we're friends, right? Like it's amazing because jiu-jitsu has changed my life in so many good ways. I've met so many good people now with my Instagram. Like I'm communicating with people all over the world. I'm talking to people that I never would have met. I'm talking to you right now. And dude, I like you. You're easy to get along with. You're always there if I message you, right? Like we never would have met. So jiu-jitsu is so much more than sit-ups and push-ups, man. Jiu-jitsu is a fucking complete lifestyle that is there for you when you need it. I mean, not right now, but like jiu-jitsu is always there for me, man. Like I can have the worst fucking day, get on the mats and feel like fucking God. And you know, I can get on those mats and I can get killed by one of my 17-year-old piece of shit, fast, really good students and still feel like a god. You know, like what else can do that? Like I know I used to go to the gym and I thought that was the thing, but now, dude, fuck the gym. Like jiu-jitsu is, I know you can feel the passion of what I'm saying right now. Jiu-jitsu is the best fucking thing I've ever done for myself. When it comes to anything physical, anything mental, jiu-jitsu is life, bro.
Well, Kent, I gotta tell you this, man. I understand where you're coming from. I foresee. I can't put anything in words in terms of concrete, but I do feel you'll be sooner than later. How sooner, we don't know. But I think the numbers at some point in game will play for you because I do think one of the issues we're going to have to address is you can't use a blanket to have a cover for everybody. That's going to be the same. I think everybody's going to have different needs and whatnot. So it's my great hope that you get back. I would suggest this. If you were able to do 5 people and that sort of stuff, are you doing privates? Is that something that people can purchase?
See, I'm thinking about it because this is what I got to figure out. I got to figure out if there's going to be fines right now for getting into that 6 feet thing. Because like I said, I'm not paying a motherfucking fine. But if some of my students, if they're the type that would be pushed into it, they might, like $888, man. Like that's a big ass fine.
Right. Just lost you on the. There we go. You're back.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah, my fucking alarm keeps going off, and I don't want to fuck with the screen and change it. I know, bro. It's my post to Instagram alarm because at 6 o'clock I get the best numbers.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm serious. That's what's going on. So I'm like, I don't even remember what I was just talking about. Yeah, no, I'm going to, if this goes into next month, I'm probably going to start doing like prohibition jiu-jitsu where if they allow 5 people in the door, there'll be me and 4 others. We'll have 5 skipping ropes on the floor. If there's a knock at the door, sorry, officer, we were all just skipping. Nobody was in our personal space. And, I'll do the things I said. I'll look into the precautions that I can put forth. I will have my cleaning going on like its usual crazy amount. And I'll do everything I can to keep people safe. But everybody, because I check in with my students and everybody I'm talking to, man, it's very possible to go into a dark place if you lose that. You know what I mean? And like, I got PTSD guys. I got people that jiu-jitsu is their therapy. Bro, jiu-jitsu is my therapy. So it's really hard for me to be as happy as I can be when I'm not choking and wrist locking white belts. So
Don't worry, I understand it quite well. I've been upping my shit talk to people
Nice.
as my way of saying like, hey, listen, I care. But it's usually just like, listen, dude, I'm gonna wreck you. And then these are people I have no business talking shit to, and
Yeah,
I'm
bro.
like, yeah, I'm gonna fuck you up, and they're like, fuck, I can't do anything to you. And I was like, you can eventually, but for right now, I'm just gonna say how shitty your single legs are
Yeah,
until
man.
you can do something about it. The reason why I asked that, Ken, is I just like ways that people in your immediate community
Yeah.
can know how to support you, because I feel like that might be a way to do that. The only thing I would caution on it, so that people will understand a little bit about your situation, is, you are also a family man. You've got to do other things. But if that's a way to support the gym, I feel like
Yeah.
that's a good way for your community. What are other ways that people in your immediate community can support as well, in addition to maybe, obviously paying their dues, or maybe even the apparel? What are ways that people can support you personally?
When I put that post out, I got enough to cover rent like right away, right? And if those diehards, they all said unless they lose their job, they're gonna keep doing it. Like I said, I didn't want to beg. I just told my guys, uh, this is what it is. I'm getting pretty much no help from the government. I need to survive because fuck, right? Like
Mhm.
I'm I want to eventually go back to teaching you. I got fucking stress abs, which I guess is a good thing, but it just try to be happy, man. Like that, if I could say anything to the immediate community, especially now that I've already got enough to pay the rent and the bills and the insurance and shit, is like do things that make you happy. Find stuff that makes you happy and do it, because don't, and dude, reach out to people. I've been messaging people. I'm trying to message a certain number of people a day, because people get dark, man. Like it's a really rough time. It's hard to be alone. It's hard to isolate. So I would tell all of you, reach out to people, even the people you don't think need it, because a lot of times they're the ones that do. Um, just try to be there for other people. You know, I I'm not trying to get all sentimental and fucking weird on you, but that's what I want you all to do, is just like look after the people that are in your circle.
That's a good note. I just want to say thank you so much for your conversation, your time. It's so important we continue a dialogue, and I think it's great that you're honest about it. And I think that, like I said, man, this is not going to be a huge thing that we say that there's a win, that when you open. I
Yeah,
think it's going to be super important to check in on our friends, our gyms, especially once you open back up, because
yeah,
we
man.
want people to have those gyms and those places to train going forward. And I know
Yeah,
it's going to be a bumpy version to go right back into things for business owners. So the opening is going to be like step 2. Step
yeah.
3, 4, 5 is going to be equally as important. So our support of you is not going to end just as we close out. And I'm so glad you were able to say what's going on, man, because I know there's a lot of people there. And I have to say this, because I know other people kind of do this, but you are one of the people who also, before any of this COVID thing, you would put out on your Instagram like, hey, message me, I'll message you back, kind of a thing.
Yeah, I
And
try to do it once or twice a month. I
and
get
I
about 500 messages every fucking time, and I answer every single one of them.
But I gotta say, man, there's a reason why you've built your brand so well, and why people like what you do. In addition to the techniques that you drop, it's that there's an element of connection that was there
Thank you.
even before COVID, and I think that's all the more reason, be it karma, be it building in whatever it is, that I think that you've seen it return to you multifold. So even before then, man, you were making sure and checking in on people, and I think that's a really cool thing.
Thank you, bro.
All right. I'm going to talk to you off air if you don't mind, but I'm going to close
Yes,
up
bro.
shop right here. Our thanks to Ken Peters, everybody.
Fuck Cam Peters.
No, not, no, don't fuck him, Peters. He's a nice guy. All right. Here's what I got going on for you guys. I want to remind you guys, in case you forgot, post it. 3 persons, places, things, local gyms, all the better. If you can support them, that's amazing. If you have the means to do it, buying a DVD, in Kent's predicament, I mean, he's got tons of gear that you can buy, and I see you guys sporting that all the time. And Kent is pretty good about making sure that you guys get any kind of publicity. But it's not just about Kent, it's about other gyms as well. If you guys have the means to go and support them, do it. If you don't have the means, offer to volunteer for your gym, offer to check in for your fellow teammates. If you can't do any of that, share a goddamn social media post. Say something nice about your gym. You know, tell people about what makes it so great, because I guarantee you it is these small gestures that make the largest of impacts, especially when they may not be getting help elsewhere else. So that's what I got for you guys today. We're going to continue our series. I believe on Thursday, I'm going to be interviewing my good friend Jason Ariola, who has a wrestling gym and jiu-jitsu gym out here in Orange County. So that'll be a great conversation. He'll be grabbing a brew with me then. But tomorrow, we're going to have another Let's Watch fight companion for the UFC that's going on. So myself and some of the cronies and hooligans that you know and you've seen on before, you will be watching them again. In the meantime, I want to say thank you guys so much for watching. Support your local gyms. And if you want one of your gyms to be featured on here, or you know of a gym owner, please go ahead and send them my way. I'll be happy to do the best that I can to interview as many people as possible. I think that's going to do it for us here today. My name is Rafa Sparza. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Grappling Hour. We'll see you back on the mats.